Hello, sir.
Yeah, hello.
Yes, sir, you can start with the session.
Right.
Thank you.
So hello, everyone. Sorry for that delay. My name is Kaka Andrew, and a dance and movement therapist from Uganda, and I'm really privileged to be sharing with you today. Um, our theme today is about the therapeutic benefits of dance and movement in autism management. Yeah, it's basically about using dance and movement to unleash the hidden abilities kept within these children within the spectrum. Yeah, so over the years, dance and movement has been put aside um, from the evidence-based practice. It has been usually ignored, but I'm blessed that it has been put back on the platform. So this uh, this type of therapy has been put aside from the evidence-based practice as a treatment for the neurological disorders, just like autism, forgetting the fact that the best way, the initial way of learning is through brain stimulation, whereby dance and movement has a lot to do with that, a lot to do with brain stimulation and all that through the different activities done therein. So through a holistic approach, because it's basically not just about dance and movement therapy. It's basically about a combination of all these EBPs, which are the evidence-based practices, including the cognitive and behavior therapy, having the occupational therapy, speech and language therapy, working together. But then there's this one factor which is also oftentimes ignored, which is nutrition. Nutrition actually plays also another big role in whichever type of therapy that you may be applying, because food has a way, the type of food we eat has a way it helps stimulate the brain in a certain way. So it's a holistic approach. So I'm not saying that it's only dance and movement, but it's an holistic approach using the different types of therapies, not ignoring nutrition, yeah, because it plays a big role. Certain foods will not be good for the children under nutrition, under the spectrum. Yeah, because certain foods like the sugars will make them hyper, therefore they can't concentrate enough. So here in Uganda, we mainly we use a lot of dance and movements as well as songs in learning, which I believe is also very crucial for the learning of the neurodiverse children, because their learning is more about movements, about play. Who are the kinesthetic learners? They're basically more about movements and plays. Yeah, so dance is a very crucial element in doing that. Now, the question might come in that how can I introduce what's dance and movement therapy? First of all, dance and movement therapy is basically for the next slide. Dance and movement is a form of psychotherapy which harnesses movement and dance to awaken or to revive, to retrieve the or to develop the physical, cognitive, and the emotional well-being of a child. Yeah, and under the spectrum, or a child who is maybe having any other neurological difficulty. So dance and movement uses a principle that the mind and the body are interconnected. Therefore, dance and movement can be a crucial element in reinforcing this child in a way that they can communicate, because communication starts from within and then comes to the outside. So what the child has in the head can be brought out through basic body movements, which are basically going to dive into. Now, what are the benefits of dance and movement therapy, uh, abbreviated as the DMT? One of the benefits, according to my slide, is sensory integration. Sensory integration is basically the process by which our brains can process multiple information coming from the different body senses. Yeah, the different body senses at the same time. So children under the spectrum have a challenge of multisensory stimulation, whereby if they are overstimulated, they will have they might throw tantrums due to overstimulation of their senses. Yeah. Therefore, through dance and movement, since the children basically work under a natural environment, whereby there are many stimulus. Yeah. First of all, work bare feet, according to the slides, some of the photos you will see in the slide. Work bare feet in a natural environment. Therefore, the feet of the child, bare feet, that the child is bare feet, is stepping on the natural ground. The child is listening to maybe the song I'm singing, or the child is listening to the music I'm playing, or the child is listening to the rhythms that I'm clapping. Now, that's for the auditory. The ones for the tactiles, basically about now stepping on the ground bare feet. They're exploring their sense of the tactile sense, the feel sense. Yeah, they're exploring that. I also have the visual sense, whereby they're seeing what I'm doing. I might be mirroring what they're doing, or sometimes I'm modeling for them what the type of movements that they are supposed to do. So yeah, our sensory integration is greatly reinforced, is developed or boosted within a child in a child through this basic dance and therapy movement, depending on how much stimulus you've exposed to the child, because the child might be only exposed to a few stimulus, but working within an environment with multiple stimulus that can stimulate the different senses in this child can basically help the child to integrate the different stimulus that his senses are recording, and then later on integrating them and then processing them. This helps them with the sensory regulation, emotional regulation, I mean, since they will not have the sensory overload. Now, in case the children under the spectrum are not able to integrate the different senses, now some of the senses they might be understimulated and other senses might be overstimulated. But through therapy, we are trying to help them integrate the different senses. Now, in case they cannot integrate, whereby some senses are overstimulated and there's a sensory overload, these children tend to have avoidance behaviors. Yeah, they tend to avoid it because because of overstimulation. And once they're overstimulated, that's why we can see cases of meltdowns, tantrums, things like that. And in case the senses are understimulated, then we shall have now the sensory seekers due to low administration of the stimulus. The senses are not stimulated enough. Therefore, they will become sensory seekers. So that's one of the benefits of dance and movement, sensory integration. And then I believe this other one is one of the common ones, which is social skills development. Now, socialization is one of the difficulties that the children under the spectrum experience, since each and every child in their unique way wants to do something they like, maybe the steaming, arranging toys, playing with maybe a string, steaming with them. They tend to enjoy their own space, enjoy their own company in that in maybe a confined place, because they find maybe being with other children or other peers might be disturbing to them, since they cannot relate in any way, because these children tend to have different preferences, different likes within them. Yeah. So they might find socialization difficult. Why? Because of such different reasons. Yeah. So dance and movement will bring these children together. Now, the ones remember, some of them have their different isms, their different steamings. One might maybe like whichever thing I've mentioned, maybe arranging toys, maybe playing with a pen, maybe flapping hands every time, maybe playing with a string. But then once you bring them together, let me say, not one-on-one, but you bring them together in the same space, and then you are working with them. You can start by only just one child in a space, and then you introduce them to maybe another one, and then you end up working in a space whereby they can share, they can communicate, they can learn from each other. Yeah, whereby they can manage to do tasks together, because dance and movement will be the activity which has brought them together. Yeah, so it encourages social interaction, which is very pivotal in building friendships. Yeah. It also encourages the eye contact. Whenever you're working with these kids, you are down at their level. You're trying to prompt them to look into your eyes. You're making the activity fun for them. Therefore, it will trigger them to give you the eye contact. Yeah. So that's about the social skills development. Yeah. Since actually through the different movements, the child can also learn to express themselves through different movements. Yeah. You might find the child maybe cannot coordinate their body well enough to maybe point there, point where, point up. But then through these different therapies and the dance and movement therapy, by continuous doing and prompting the child to make different movements, the child can start to learn the different gestures, yeah, through body movement. and therefore can be able to express themselves a certain way using the different body movements. Yeah. So another point would be motor skills and coordination. Yeah, motor skills and coordination. Under motor skills, we have the gross motor skills, which involves the whole body movement, the big muscle movements of the body. It could be jumping, it could be activities like jumping, activities like running, definitely an activity like dance, yeah, because it will involve the whole body, yeah. Um, the whole body. Therefore, the child is engaging their whole body in the activity. Yes, is engaging the whole body in the activity. Yes, which leads to the development of the gross motor movements. You can also incorporate items like maybe um, you can make the child maybe push a wheelbarrow. The child can push a wheelbarrow. Actually, pushing the wheelbarrow can not only develops the gross motor, but it also develops the fine motor, whereby the child is able to hold the handles of the wheelbarrow as well as pushing. Therefore, the child is basically developing both their gross motor and then the fine motor. Yes, as well as the fine motor. As for the fine motor, you can maybe movement. You can also be reinforced through maybe using sponge balls. You can give, maybe a child is very tactile. You can maybe give a ball to him, a sponge ball, and the child is squeezing. It leads to the strengthening of their grip and also strengthening, developing their fine motor. Yes, through the different body movements. Yes, movement, it can also be reinforced through the different activities that the child might like. You might engage the child into play, maybe swinging, skipping a rope. In case the child can coordinate their body enough to jump, can engage them in activities like jumping, skipping ropes. These will develop their fine motor and their gross motor movements. Also, the different games like playing on the slide, there is a great reinforcement for development of the body muscles, both the fine and the gross motor movements. Going to coordination, children under the spectrum, some of them have issues. Actually, most of them have issues with coordinating their bodies. Yeah, whereby they have challenges with maybe coordinating the eyes and the hands. They have issues with coordinating what they've heard into movements. Yeah, coordinating what they've seen into movements. Yeah, which is the maybe auditory motor coordination. Now, since dance and movement has a lot to do with hearing, it has also a lot to do with hearing. Maybe listening to the different rhythms. You can tell the child to clap a certain rhythm. Can maybe clap pam pam pa pa pa, and then the child has to integrate that information. It has to process that information of the rhythm they've had, and they're supposed to clap it. Yes. Or they're supposed to dance or move to a certain rhythm, yeah, one at a time. Yes, this will help them to develop the auditory, which is the hearing motor coordination, in that they can translate what they've heard into movement. Can maybe tell them jump, and then the child can jump. Can tell them crawl, and the child can crawl. Yes. We also have the eye hand coordination, which is also another the type of coordination Dance movement helps to stimulate or to grow. Yes. So for the eye-hand coordination, I usually engage the children in fun activities. How? You can get activities like maybe filling bottles. There you help the child fill bottles in case, using a case study of this child who loves water so much. So you're going to use water as a reinforcement to build this eye-hand coordination skill in them, to prompt them to encourage the development of the eye-hand coordination using water, which they like. How? So through the bottle filling, maybe filling from one cup to another, the child will concentrate on where it's pouring, what is pouring. Therefore, this activity requires the use of the hands and the eyes simultaneously. Yeah. So the child, by continuously doing that consistently, the child might not be perfect immediately, but gradually through the child can be able to 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 coordinate the eyes and the hands. Yeah. Um, through process by process. Yeah, gradually. So you need to have a lot of patience with these children while working with them. So it's basically now the motor skills and the coordination development work hand in hand. Yeah, because most of the things, maybe I can put an example of maybe pushing a wheelbarrow. The child is pushing the wheelbarrow. At the same time, he's supposed to see where they are going. Yeah. So he's developing his motor skills as well as um, coordinating the hands and the eyes to maybe to dodge the obstacles around. Yes. Which is also part of the the problem solving skills. So we have also the visual motor coordination, whereby the child has to process what they have seen. Maybe I've put up my right hand up, and then I expect the child to also put their right hand up. Maybe I've jumped. I expect the child to process him seeing me jump and they jump. Yes. That's better. Yes. Is the child able to copy what I've modeled for them? Is the child able to copy what I've done and they do it? Yeah. Yes. That's what I can say about the visual motor coordination. So move on to the next slide. Another benefit of dance and movement. Oh, um, oh yes, cognitive development. Um, Cognitive development is usually connected to the brain, connected to the how the child processes the information they perceive, the information they have, how the child processes the information received from the different senses that they have. Now, DMT through DMT can help develop the cognitive development of a child through various different ways. First of all, it increases the child's concentration. How? Through different body movements. Dance being a vigorous activity that requires a lot of energy. It helps to stimulate the brain. And once the brain is stimulated, it encourages quick processing of information. It stimulates the brain to process different information at the same time. So it also releases the stress and anxiety within the child, allowing them to concentrate more at their work. because once the child is not settled, they can't learn anything. Yeah. So through different movements, maybe jumping in the trampoline, could be swinging, the child is able to release the stress and also help them regulate so that they can concentrate on what they can doing. Yeah, they are doing. Therefore, they are able to integrate the different information once they are regulated, yeah, through movement. It can be through doing the fun activity which they like, maybe jumping in the trampoline, it could be swinging, it could be maybe rolling on the ground, dancing, whichever activity, yeah, which encourages them to regulate. So dance and movement is it's one of those activities that will help stimulate the brain to regulate, yeah, through the different movements. And also, if the child is able to integrate the different visual cues you've given them, the visual cues, yeah, which you do through different movements, to make it much more easier to train the child, because they are able to interpret the different different visual cues that you are giving them. Yeah. Could be you telling them to go somewhere and then you tell them go, you model the word go for them while pointing. Therefore, they are able to process the uh, the different body cues, encouraging them to develop their cognitive skills. Yeah. So another benefit could be used as a reinforcement. Now, different movements can be used, or the activity of dance can be used to reinforce reinforce the child do different things. Yeah. Giving a case study of a child who might have challenges with counting, since dance is associated with different body movements, associated with counts, associated with forming different shapes. You can first of all reinforce the learning of these basic things through dance. Yeah. Now, for example, basic math. Yeah. Maybe you can add, you can subtract. Yes. How? You can maybe tell the child move 2 steps forward and then maybe move 1 step backwards. Yes. So the child has interpreted the move to. Obviously, it starts with you prompting them, learning that when I move maybe 2 steps forward and then I move 1 step backwards, it will help them learn the subtraction. Maybe I've moved maybe 3 steps, maybe sideways, and I move 1 step sideways. I know that I've moved this 1 step, therefore, uh, I'm left with 2 steps. Yeah, I moved 3 steps, and then I moved three steps on the right, and then I've moved 1 step on the left. Therefore, I'm left with two steps to finish. Maybe it could be something you've drawn down that you're working on to help the child, to guide the child on the different movements. Yeah, because basically our activities are outdoor. Therefore, you can have your sessions in the sun. Therefore, you can be able to design whichever way you want to teach the child using the locally available resources, which is the sun, maybe the natural things like the sticks in the environment to help the child in the counting. Now, dance also involves the different countings, like maybe step 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5. Yeah, the child can be able to learn numbers. Yeah, in case they have challenges with counting. Yeah, child is able to count from 1. Maybe you move maybe like 10 steps, so the child is able to learn numbers from 1 up to 10. And then once they've grasped to that, you can maybe add on 11, 12, 13, 14. You can add on and then you move upwards once they have understood. Yeah. But the intensity in doing it should be strong. It should be intense. Yeah. Because the child has to understand that. Yeah. The numbers without has to understand the numbers through intensity and consistency. If you're not consistent, they will forget. Yeah, they will tend to forget the things. Yeah, so the child has to you have to be consistent and intense. Yeah, not once a week or twice a week, and then you skip sometimes, no, once a day. So it has to be consistent. If you do it every single day, do it with them every single day. Yeah, for them to encourage them to learn. Yeah, continuously. Yeah. Yeah, so another thing, maybe the child can also learn the different shapes. Maybe making a triangle using your hands, making movements, maybe the different movements, dance movements, maybe portraying the different geometrical shapes, maybe squares. The child is learning a triangle, is learning how to do a trapezium, but basically by imitating their different shapes through the different movements. So the child is learning also shapes through the different body movements. Yeah. So it also helps the child to understand the rhythms. Because dancing and movement, okay, dance will require the child to get to boost their auditory sense, which will allow them to hear more. Yeah, the auditory sense will boost them to hear more. Therefore, the different rhythms in the song, it could be 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the child is able to follow those different rhythms. Yeah, and the beats and the tempo. Yeah, it's one thing to understand the rhythm, and a different thing to understand the timing of the song, and also a different thing to understand the tempo of the song. So the child is basically, the brain is triggered into learning these different things. Yeah, while attending to maybe the dance and movement therapy session. Yeah, the auditory bit of it is stimulated uh, to process all these kinds of things within a song. You could be singing to them, or you could be playing to them on audio. Yeah. So through dance and movement, also engaged into teaching you can also engage into teaching the child the different body movements. Yeah. The different body parts. Yeah. Maybe the eyes for seeing, the nose for smelling, things like that, the different body parts. Yeah. You all know this common song, maybe head, shoulders, knees, and toes. You are basically reinforcing the child to learn the different body parts through the different body movements. Yeah. So you're not only achieving the child moving their body through touching maybe the different body parts that they are mentioning, or you are mentioning as a carer, therapist, or PA, you are also encouraging them to learn the different body parts, and also do the movements that you are requiring them with your specific target. Maybe you're targeting coordination, maybe you're targeting their patience, how they react emotionally. Yeah. Going to the next slide. Yeah. So dance and movement also improves on self-expression and emotional regulations. Yeah. So self-expressions, how? In case the children are overstimulated, they often throw maybe tantrums, because of that's how they can maybe express for the ones who are non-speaking. They can throw tantrums, they may get meltdowns, and then you don't know the triggers, you might not be doing what could have been the cause, but all you're seeing is the child throwing tantrums. Yeah, no, that's basically their way of communicating, being uncomfortable. Yeah, or trying to tell you that something is wrong. Yeah. Now through the different sessions of dance and movement, you are able to boost this child's self-expression. Yeah. Self-expression, how you can teach the child the different body gestures, therefore they are able to maybe tell you through body movements. I earlier on mentioned pointing. Maybe the child, since they have challenges, some children have challenges processing their maybe interoceptive senses. Maybe they want to go to the toilet, the child wants to pee or poo, but can't tell you that um, they want to go to the toilet. They can simply make certain body movements, body movements. Yeah, they can maybe pull you to can do the hand leading maybe to the toilet. They can point you to where the toilet is. Yeah, uh, teaching them to express themselves through the body movements. Yeah, so they can point there. They can create maybe movements. They can create movements that can help them um, express what they are feeling inside. Yeah. And also for the part of the emotional regulations, I earlier on said that dance is a vigorous activity which helps to stimulate the brain. And when the brain is stimulated, dopamine is secreted, which helps to reduce the stress and the stress and anxiety within a child. Yeah, in case of any sensory overload, uh, dopamine helps the child to regulate. Yeah, therefore they won't maybe throw tantrums because they are regulated due to the activity of different body movements, which helps to stimulate the brain. Yeah, which develops their emotional regulations. Yeah. But continue to the next slide. You could be wondering that how can I maybe introduce dance and movement to a child? Yeah, maybe you've never worked with a child. You've never maybe you're introducing it for the first time to the child. Sometimes you haven't worked with the child at any point. And I'm probably wondering like, how will I introduce? Maybe the child has coordination issues. The child cannot read the visual cues. The child cannot copy the different body movements, maybe the clapping of the hands that you're showing him, the raising of the hands that you are showing them. And then you're probably wondering how you can you can start that. Yeah. Now, in case the child is new, I need to include these minus. In case the child is new to you, you'll first of all start by assessing the child. Yeah. You might do the preference assessments and then also the reinforcer assessments to know what could be the likes and the preferences of this child. What does this child love to do? Which activity does this child love? Which toys? Which what what are the things this child loves? Yeah, some of them could love water, could be maybe attached to a certain toy, maybe could be so much attached to maybe singing. The child is so fascinated by music. The child is a lot fascinated by maybe fruits or animals or birds. Yeah. So first of all, you have to assess the child. What does the child love? Yeah. What does the child love? help you know where to maybe start. Because to work with these children, you first of all have to establish a relationship with them. You have to establish the relationship. So here at the center, we incorporate a lot of the Sunrise program, which is more which is relationship based. First of all, you have to allow the child welcome you into that space. Yeah. And that can only happen through a relationship-based type of learning. So you must first of all establish a relationship with the child. Yes. And then you'll prepare your environment depending on the likes, preferences, and maybe what the child avoids, maybe what could be the child could be hypersensitive to maybe sound. So you won't have to make a lot of maybe you lower the volume of the music maybe, or if you're singing you can lower the tone because the child will instead be dysregulated. So you have to lower the volume in case the child is hypersensitive to sound. Maybe if they're hypersensitive to touch, you can reduce touching on them. Don't over touch on them because they will still be dysregulated. So you reduce touch on them and to keep them regulated and focused. Yeah, because they won't learn in case they are dysregulated. So now you'll prepare your environment basing on what you've got from the different assessments you might have done with the child. You might prepare environment having these things that maybe the child likes to reinforce them, make different movements with the body, yeah, with the body. So yeah, in a well-prepared environment, you can start by maybe modeling for the child or prompting the child to make minor body movements. You can maybe start by maybe clapping the hands. You can start by tapping, prompting them to tap on their bodies, because in case the child is hypersensitive to sound, as I said, they won't be affected by the sound they are producing by themselves. So if they're tapping on their own bodies, they won't be dysregulated. So they will be okay. Yeah. Now that's how we can introduce it to maybe a child who one of the ways you can introduce to a child who is hypersensitive to sound. You first allow them maybe tap, make simple taps, hand claps by themselves before introducing any external object, maybe the tambourines, the shakers, maybe before introducing that, because they'll feel dysregulated. At a very low tone, you can start by maybe just allowing them tap on themselves or allowing them make hand claps, making minor stomping of the feet. Yeah, stomping of their feet slowly by slowly. And then maybe you can introduce on the tone. Maybe after a certain period of working on that, and then you feel you can now add on the tone. Sorry, you can add on the tone, and you can maybe increase the speed a bit. You can increase the speed a bit, and also the energy in doing it. Yeah, the energy in doing it slowly by slowly until the child can be able to clap on their own without feeling dysregulated. Yeah. Then you can maybe introduce the external objects. Maybe you can, if the child is fascinated by maybe playing piano, you can encourage him to play the piano. Yeah, because it also encourages the finger isolations. Because the piano sometimes they can playing the one key at a time to help with the finger isolations. So I can maybe introduce the different drums. The child can play different rhythms. Yeah, different rhythms. Maybe that could be the next stage after them getting used to the sound of maybe the tambourine and then all the shakers. They are now used to the sound. You can now introduce in the rhythms. Pa, 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 pa. There are different counts. Yeah. Yeah, as well the different shake rhythms of shaking. Yeah. So so use the songs the child is familiar with and enjoys. It could be a nursery rhyme. Maybe you love you know the child maybe loves a certain nursery rhymes. The wheels on the bus goes round and round, round and round, round and round. You can maybe reinforce the child to make movements by singing them, maybe their favorite nursery rhymes. Yes, playing the music on speaker wouldn't be bad, but I feel it more engaging with the child if at all you are singing to them. The child is singing, enjoying the song they love. This can also build on the relationship between you and the child. Since I'm more mainly concentrated on a relationship-based type of learning. So singing maybe the song that they like, that nursery rhyme, maybe that line they love, which can reinforce different body movements. If the child is non-speaking, maybe not maybe, at a certain point, the child can even imitate the words because he's hearing you model the words for them. You're trying to sing the words, so the child is engaging with you as well as you engaging with them. Therefore, it's very effective for learning. Yeah. Moving on to the next slide. So the tips to follow during Owen planning for a DMT session, dance and movement session. First of all, I would suggest, oh, I've spoken about it, about um, bringing a song that the child is familiar with, a song that's familiar with that. I believe I've exhausted that. Also natural environments. Now about the natural environments, sometimes to depend on the child. Maybe the child could be uncomfortable working from outside. Therefore, you have to introduce the child to the natural environment gradually. Yeah. Maybe the child is feels comfortable, maybe working within the four corners, yeah, in a room. So you can maybe start having your sessions from there. And then maybe gradually you start introducing the child maybe to the materials. You might find out that maybe you bring the sun indoors, maybe you pick some few natural leaves. You can pick a few natural materials that the child is going to find outside. You bring them in, and then you engage the child in the dance and movement session with them using those materials now as props without before introducing them to the natural. That's gradually introducing them to the natural environment without them maybe moving outside. Then slowly by slowly you can start reinforcing the child to attend to have the sessions outside or outdoors, yeah, in the natural environment. Now, why the natural environment? Remember at the beginning, I remember mentioning something about dance and movement um, having um, um, helping in sensory integration. Yeah. So the natural environment has a lot of sensory stimulating stimuli. Yeah, stimulus. So the child is, we work barefoot. Maybe when the child steps on the ground, the child is able to maybe get and is no no feel the texture of the ground. The child is maybe able to feel the temperature of the ground. The child is exposed to maybe the different feelings and sensations that he feels when they step on the ground. Yeah, so it's exposing them to that kind of environment, that kind of stimulus. Yeah. Now, gradually, if at all they have sensory regulatory, sensory integration difficulties, Sometimes they can avoid it. They can avoid stepping on the ground, but then you can gradually introduce them to that. Gradually introduce them until they are able to walk freely on the ground, bare feet. Yeah. So the natural environment can also expose them to the different sounds in the environment, maybe the sounds of the birds. So those are basically different stimulus coming in, yeah, to one child. Yeah. Also, the natural environment could be a bit destructive to the child. Therefore, as as a teacher, caregiver, or a therapist, must be able to know to have a strong reinforcement, not to allow this child to lose concentration on what on what you're doing with them, because there could be a lot of distractions, yeah, in the natural environment. Yeah. So another thing I could say is give the child a lot of sensory breaks. Yeah. Incorporate sensory breaks within your sessions to avoid the sensory overload. Because in case of sensory overload, the child will avoid the task. The child will start maybe throwing tantrums. The child the child will be dysregulated, therefore not concentrating. So provide the different sensory breaks to the child, yeah, between maybe each and every session. Another thing they can ask us to do is break down the task, the big movements into small tasks so that the child feels it's manageable. Yeah. The child feels it's manageable. Yeah. Through task analysis, break down the task into small movements. Yeah. The big movement into small movements. Yeah. Maybe you want the child to put on a shirt, or to put on the shoes. You want the child to maybe learn how to button. Yeah. So those are all different movements involving different which are different tasks involve different movements. So you can't just maybe just get the whole shirt and put it on the child, and then you teach them to put on that shirt in one session. You first have to maybe teach the child to dive in the right hand, to dive in the left hand into the shirt, throw the shirt on. You're now teaching the child to button in case it has button. That's another task. Maybe zipping. It could be the shirt could be could require zipping. So you teach them gradually, step by step. So the different movements that you might incorporate in your sessions, they must be broken down into small, achievable, and attainable tasks. Yeah. So have sensory breaks with them. Put in the do task analysis, break down the tasks. Also, incorporate the child's interest in the session in the sessions to make them more engaging. Yeah. The child could be a lover of maybe balls. The child loves bouncing balls. The child loves jumping in the trampoline. The child loves maybe music. So you can incorporate those things during your sessions to just to reinforce the child to concentrate and follow your instructions. Yeah, during the different sessions. But then you must be able to to fed these reinforcements over time, because the child I believe the importance of the different types of therapies is to allow the child to attain maximum independence. Therefore, at a certain point, we have to feed these reinforcements to allow the child to be able to be driven by their own to do the specific, the different tasks, the different movements that you have worked with them on. Yeah. So uh, make the activity sensory, make them sensory based. Yeah, sensory based, because therapy, the dance and movement is no longer about, it's not only about the different, just moving, body movements, and there are many bits, but it will also require us to engage them into these sensory-based activities. How? Can engage them in maybe vestibular activities or exercises which will help them to gain body balance. Maybe you can encourage them, prompt them to maybe carry materials using both hands. You can start with one hand, depending on the type of support the child needs. Also, and then you go on the second one, you encourage them to walk around with the different weights on both sides of the hand, depending on their abilities. Yeah, to encourage them gain to strengthen the vestibular. Yeah. Also, through spinning, the different jumpings. So auditory exercises are also crucial. During these sessions, encourage auditory stimulation also, or exercises can be through allowing the child to follow different rhythms that you might be clapping, and different rhythms and the tempo of the songs that you might sing or hum. Yeah, allow them imitate that, prompt them to imitate that, and also follow that. Yes. Give a clear expectation of what the child is getting. Yeah, a clear expectation. Tell this child that, okay, we are going to do this and this and that, and then we do this and this and that and that, and then they do this, because we don't want them to be feeling like because however engaging the session is, at a certain point, the child will feel exhausted and the child will feel tired. And it is in that point whereby they start losing concentration. But even though even though they feel tired, and at a certain point they know that they will have a break at this time. Uh, when after this activity, he might go in the trampoline. After this activity, he's going to go on the swing. Yes, so create those clear expectations to the child to enable them um, concentrate on the different sessions that you may be having with them. Yeah. So also provide the necessary equipments, the different props. It could be a ball. The child is fascinated with the ball. Introduce the ball. The child is fascinated by maybe the music instruments. Provide them, yeah, so that it can stimulate them to, it can reinforce them to follow the different instructions, can be learning through these different materials. Yeah. Now, before I give in my conclusion, I'd love to ask, uh, I'd love to ask you to maybe ask a few questions before I close. Oh, wait. Yes. Anyone with a question? Hashim? Anyone with a question? Yes. Okay. So in case there's no question, I'm first checking my notes. Okay, let me read through the comments. Maybe the chats could be having. Let me first read through the chats. I might be having okay. 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 All right. Since there's no pending questions, allow me to draw my conclusion. Now, in Uganda, we basically have like over 63 tribes, and these different tribes within the boundaries of our country, Uganda, have different dance movements, depending on the region they come from. So the different tribes have their different body movements, their different coordination, which is actually unique and and diverse in their own way. So they are all essential for the different therapeutic learning benefits. How the different tribes could have the different um, musical instruments. Yeah, because dance and music are inseparable. They move together simultaneously. So they have different movements like local drums. They have the different musical instruments which they can engage the children with within these different sessions. Yeah. Now, same here. It could be that in the region, the child might in the different regions with the different dance genres or the dance styles and other music approaches and language. Try to engage the child in their culture, the cultural benefits of the different movements, of the different musical instruments. Yeah, allow the child explore their culture, whereas learn something new. So prior to our discussion, let's continue exploring and engaging in the uh, exploration of the benefits of dance and movement. Yeah, thank you for recognizing the benefits of the need to learn the benefits of dance and movement in therapy. So allow me say thank you for tuning in, and let's continue embracing the benefits of dance and movement. Yeah. My name is Kaka Andrew, a dance and movement therapist. Yeah, thank you.